Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I love performing weddings. They're my favorite. I want to talk to you today a little bit about anger, the opposite of yesterday, happiness and joy. I want to start with on a positive note, okay? Whenever you face trials of many kinds, you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. And perseverance must finish its work so that you may mature and be complete, not lacking anything. So there's a great story that we all know about it, and it's about Ben-Hur, a young Jewish lad who was charged with a crime he didn't commit. A travesty of trial, and he's condemned to the galleys. They chained him to a bench in the hold of a ship and to an oar. And for weeks and months and then years, he's forced to pull on that oar. If he should ever slack up, he feels the sting of the lash. But finally, Ben-Hur escapes from his barbaric punishment, and it's time for Ben-Hur's famous chariot race with Messala, the haughty Roman. The chariot race is ultimately a test of strength and endurance. As Ben-Hur whips those great horses around the inner ring, it is clear that he is the stronger and the more fit of the two. The years of pulling on that oar in the hold of the ship had produced a man of steel. He took the anger and everything that happened to him, and he turned it into a positive note. And that's how we all must deal with our life. Anything that comes to us from a negative point of view must be turned around, including anger. And one of the reasons that it's so imperative at this time is that this is the period of time where we're going into a new calendar starting in 2012. And this new calendar is about us all being in charge of our own life, about awareness, about where do you want to go. You can achieve anything you choose to, but it's how do you get there from here. And one of the issues that keeps surfacing for so many people is anger. So I have a story to share with you, just a quick one here. A gentleman goes in to see a counselor, and the counselor says to him, "Your test seems to indicate that you have some buried anger," said the counselor to his client. "Do you think this could be true?" he asked. "Me? Angry? Certainly not," replied the client. "I'll punch you in the nose for saying that." When it comes to anger, we all have a tiger of sorts within. At times, it provides great courage and motivation. At other times, we're so afraid it will get out of control, we bury it so that nobody, including ourselves, ever knows it exists. Many of us were taught that anger is bad, and to show it is immature. The mature person, however, doesn't deny his anger. He has learned to express it in appropriate ways. Even though some people never show their anger, everybody gets angry sometimes. Anger is a God-given emotion, and in of itself, it is neither good, bad, right, or wrong. It is how we handle it and what we do with it that counts. I can remember my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law. My God, they used to get me angry. So I used to clean the house. I used to think about them and tear the house apart. And I can remember one day being angry. They did something that got me angry, and I just brought a fresh load of crushed gravel in to put all between my rows in my garden. And I'm out there shoveling. So it's how you use the anger. If you use it to your benefit, it's very, very good. Okay, so because it stirs things inside of you and helps you to work through a lot of things. There are many things we ought to be angry about, such as social injustice, child abuse, greed, even legalistic religion that makes rules more important than the people. Hostility contaminates everything we do. Think of Florence Nightingale. She was angry about the terrible conditions suffered by the wounded soldiers in the Crimean War. She used her anger creatively. to bring about major changes in nursing care. One of the worst things we can do with our anger is to repress and deny it. Long-term repressed anger turns into hostility and contaminates everything we do and is a great destroyer of relationships. It also causes people to overact. Hostility shows itself in many ways. A negative, critical attitude, nagging, sarcasm, gossip, resentment, hatred, slamming doors, shouting, taking it out on children, kicking the cat, aggressive driving, childish, I'm hurt, crying, rebellion, deviant behavior, and people putting other people down, constantly running late, passivity, withdrawal, rage, and even criminality. The list is totally endless. Repressed anger or hostility when triggered can have fatal results as well. According to the Bulletin newspaper in Australia, in 1 year, 80% of homicide victims in one state were killed by family members or intimate friends. Most of these fatal attacks were the result of quarrels or triggered by quarrels in everyday situations. How many of us have been so angry that we've done foolish things? We've all done it, myself included. Furthermore, there's probably nothing more destructive to personal relationships than unresolved buried anger or hostility. Hostility attacks people. Healthy anger is directed against wrongdoing, is connected with love, and is the right amount, and with the right amount of anger for a given situation. So a helpful question you ask yourself if you think you might be overreacting is, should I be this angry? People who overact to situations usually have a lot of repressed anger. The immediate situation that brings out the out of proportion anger doesn't cause it. It triggers what is already there. The Bible reminds us that if you're slow to get angry, you're wise. But if you're quick-tempered, you only show foolishness. This isn't an excuse for denying one's anger, as denial can be equally foolish and destructive. Being quick-tempered is usually overreacting and a sign of unresolved anger. The Bible also advises, so get rid of your feelings of hatred or anger. Don't just pretend to be good. Be gone with dishonesty. Also, if you're angry, don't nurse your grudge. Don't let the sun go down with you still angry. Get over it quickly, for when you're angry, you cause a disruption in your nervous system that can cause other health issues. Or as Dr. Cecil Osborne explains in his book, The Art of Understanding Yourself, repressed anger may eventually come out in the form of some psychosomatic illness, ulcers, asthma, arthritis, colitis, dermatitis, heart ailments, or one of the many other scores of things within your life. Hostility attacks people, and healthy anger is directed against wrongdoing, remember. So how do we resolve normal anger? First, be honest and admit how you feel. Second, accept yourself as a normal human being who sometimes has angry feelings. Third, determine to resolve your feelings the same day that it happens. Fourth, express your feelings creatively, perhaps to an understanding friend first, or an imaginary substitute, and where necessary, to the person with whom you're angry. This is not an excuse to lash out at others. The goal should always to be, speak your truth, but only in love. When expressing anger, we need to verbalize the emotion. Talking about the anger doesn't resolve it always. The emotion needs to be released, not in an attack or as blame, but as an expression of our feeling of the problem. When this is done, the anger then dissipates. It is neither true nor helpful to say, "You make me mad," This is blaming the other person for your reaction and puts him or her on the defensive. How many times have we done that? It's more helpful to say, I need to talk to you about such and such a matter. I feel very angry about this. I know my anger is my problem, and I may be overreacting. But I need to talk to you about this matter. And that is, you say I in the message, not you when you need to address it. Anger can also be expressed in writing. I've done this many times, after which I've either torn up the piece of paper or I burned it to help diminish the issues that I have. It is often used in writing down your feelings. It is often used as a viable method of removing that anger or expressing it. Okay, if you can't do it in the writing, then you need to talk to someone about it, because holding on to the anger only puts it into the cellular memory and causes a lot more issues. Resolving relationships is very important. And fifth, before expressing anger, check to see if you're feeling afraid or threatened, because anger is often used as a defense against feeling afraid. If fear is the problem, talk about that. Remember, fear represents false evidence appearing real. And 6, when you have shared or resolved your anger, forgive anyone or all who have hurt you. Failing to forgive is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Actually, until one has resolved his or her anger, it's impossible to truly forgive. Resolving one's anger clears the way for forgiveness, and also it clears the cellular memory to allow you to be in a state of love and to move forward on a positive note. To resolve hostility caused by unresolved anger from the past, even all the way back to childhood, usually needs the help of a skilled professional counsel. If this is your situation, recovery begins with acknowledging your problem. Got that? Acknowledging the problem. You have to start somewhere. Admitting that you need help. So you can ask your minister or your family doctor if they can recommend a counselor to you who specializes in anger management. And above all, admit and confess your problem to God. It is God that can help you through this. Sometimes by simply acknowledging it and asking for higher self and for the highest source that we have available to us to help us, we often can work through some of these things. Nothing can be left without the help of God. We all need God in our lives at some point. So asking for assistance is one of the most positive things you can do. Be sure to get the help you need if you need it. Okay? For physical, emotional, and spiritual health, we need to be in touch with all our feelings, positive and negative, and to use and express them in creative ways. This too is the way we love, for unresolved anger turns into resentment and builds barriers between friends, loved ones, and even God, because it blocks out our love. There may be a great deal of injustice in our lives. We may feel that we're chained to an oar, but if we keep pulling, if we keep giving it our best, we can become better and better people through understanding how to work through any hardship that we come upon. True, the trials of life can make us bitter, or they can make us better. We can take the high road or the low road. It's never easy, but remember, the choice is always ours. Thank you for allowing me to share.